What's the dumbest tech mistake you've seen someone double down on? I'd been working for a managed service provider for a couple of years when this all happened. The company treated its engineers well and paid for certifications, so I'd moved up from desktop setups to a junior engineer role with Microsoft and Novell certifications under my belt. Back then, both systems were competing for dominance, and knowing both made you valuable. One morning, my boss called me into his office. The owner and a salesperson were there too, grinning from ear to ear. The owner told me we just landed a high-profile client, our city's professional basketball team. They wanted us to handle a simple job first, install backup software on their Windows server, and make sure it worked. If we succeeded, we'd get a long-term contract. It sounded easy, maybe an hour's work at most. When I arrived at the arena, I was met by the team's CIO, a woman I'll call Karen. She decided that before I touched a keyboard, she'd give me a quick tour. 45 minutes later, I'd seen framed jerseys, empty trophy cases, and her corner office overlooking the court. She clearly loved showing the place off. Finally, she led me to what she called the server room. It was actually a small storage office filled with boxes, cables running into the ceiling, and 2 tower servers sitting directly on the carpet. On one of them sat the box of backup software. She pointed at it, said all the login info was on a sheet of paper, and left me to work. I checked both servers and immediately noticed that their Novell system already had backup software installed, but it hadn't run successfully in months. I tried logging in with the provided credentials, but I didn't have enough permissions to install or configure anything, so I went back to her office. I'll need admin access to finish the installation, I said. Her friendly tone disappeared. Why? My other tech runs backups just fine with that account. I explained that running backups and installing software require different permission levels, but she wasn't buying it. She picked up the phone and called her technician, Paul. When he walked in, she said, "Paul, have you had any problems with backups?" He looked uncomfortable. "No, ma'am, but I mostly handle the desktop computers." "See," she said, turning back to me. "If he can do it, why can't you?" Rather than argue, I asked her to follow me to the server room. "You want the software installed on the Windows server, right?" I asked. "Of course," she said impatiently. "It's supposed to back up our email." I pointed to the box. "This version is for Novell servers. It won't install on Windows." She crossed her arms. "Are you saying the vendor sold me the wrong software?" "I'm saying this version isn't compatible," I replied. "We can check their website to be sure." She sighed but agreed. Back at her desk, she opened the vendor's website, scrolled a bit, and gave me a smug look. "See? It says it backs up Microsoft Exchange." I pointed to the page. "That's the Windows version. Yours says NetWare. It'll back up the entire database but not individual mailboxes like you asked for." She waved dismissively. "They told me it would work. I'm paying you to make it work." I nodded. "All right, but it'll only install on the Novell server." She reluctantly gave me full access. I inserted the CD into the Windows server. Nothing happened. No installer, no setup file. Then I mounted it on the Novell server, and the installer launched immediately. Within 30 minutes, I installed it, configured both servers for backup, and ran a successful test. I also fixed their backup schedule, which hadn't run in over 3 months. When I told her, she frowned, but the screen said the last backup was successful. "That was months ago," I said, showing her the logs. She left the room in a hurry, clearly upset, while I packed up and called my boss to explain what happened. Turned out, she'd already called him too. Later that day, we had a conference call with her and the software vendor. The vendor confirmed everything I'd said. They'd told her to buy the Windows version, but she refused because it was more expensive. They offered her a partial credit if she purchased the correct one. A week later, my boss sent me back with a senior engineer. This time, Karen watched us through remote desktop as we installed the proper version. Everything worked perfectly. Our invoice included both visits and the senior's time, about 5 times what she would have paid if she'd listened from the start. Months later, the team's new CIO called. Karen had been replaced. He'd found our old recommendation email that she'd deleted and restored it, using the very backup system I'd configured. He wanted us to return and complete the improvements. The team got their system fixed. We gained a reliable client, and the person who caused all the trouble was no longer around to question anything.